Meet Paco, entrepreneur, founder, creative director, and most importantly, father. What's it like making a couple $1 million in a day?
Oh, bro, man, it was, it's surreal. And I'm a bit cursed in the sense I'm happy, hungry. So I should probably enjoy that a little bit more and a little bit longer.
GEEDUP are dominating the streetwear game right now here in Australia and New Zealand with plans to take over the world. But it hasn't always been that easy.
And I met my ex-partner and she fell pregnant, bro. She fell pregnant pretty quickly. So I was like, shit, I'm expecting a child. I've got a business that's making money, but I don't really know how to manage it. I don't have a steady income. I'm in trouble. So I got like halfway through 2017. I was like, fuck it, I'm done.
Come follow the journey of GEEDUP, the rise, the fall, and most importantly, the rebirth. It's an inspiring listen. It feels good to be back. Welcome to the Ice Project. Roll the intro. Okay, my brother. Someone who's been able to witness your success over the past 18 months. We built a great friendship, relationship, have conversations that not too many people would hear. And we're going to sort of dive onto this today. But when I look at someone successful, when I see you as someone who is a success, I always to think back on the childhood and what makes you successful. Paco, where'd you grow up and what kind of kid were you growing up?
Oh, bro, let's go right back. I grew up out at Warragamba. Warragamba Dam, that's where most of Sydney's water comes from. It's way rural. I was there till year 6, moved from there to Kemps Creek. We're only at Kemps Creek for like 18 months or so, and then it was straight into Penrith, western suburbs. So from year 6 to year 7, we moved 3 times and then settled in Penrith. I grew up in Glenmore Park. Bro, arsehole of a kid. Put my mum through the trenches. And not because I wasn't a naughty kid in the sense that just a cunt of a kid. Sorry, can I say that?
Yeah, say what you want, bro.
School just wasn't for me, bro. Do you know what I mean? School wasn't for me in the sense that the teachers would say I had an authority problem, a problem with authority, and I could say that came across that way. But I just felt like I wanted to do what I was good at. Do you know what I mean? And no one wanted to let me do what I was good at. So I pushed back a lot, do you know what I mean? So my childhood and my teenage years, bro, I was a painful child. I was a painful kid.
You said you want to do stuff that you're good at. What were you good at as a kid?
I had a love for graffiti, which is art in my eyes, and just design and using my hands, you know what I mean? So I like to build things. I like to make things. I had a knack for just envisioning things and be able to just put it into play and just go do it. And that's why I fell into graffiti. I used to see letters differently. And that's what helped me probably with my logo design now. So I've seen lettering differently, I've seen hand styles differently, and there's not much I can't do with a can or a texter. So I loved graffiti, bro, and I loved art, but that's what they took away from me at school as a form of punishment for not, progressing in my other classes and stuff like that. So when they took that away from me, I hated it, bro. I just hated it. So the teachers copped it, and then I just took it out on kids out in the playground and shit like that. That's how that happened.
Talk us through just like, you strike me as someone who's got a bit of a chip on their shoulder.
Yeah.
Where's that chip come from in your childhood?
Bro, you know what, like, my relationship with my dad wasn't the best one. He was forever saying, you can't do this, you can't do that, you're not good enough. And I was always made to feel not to be good enough. That then followed me through my childhood into school. Not so much primary school. I can't remember much of that part of my childhood, but definitely high school. Everywhere I went, bro, you're not going to do this, you're not going to do that, you can't do this, you can't do that. You're only going to end up in jail. So that kind of thickened my skin a lot. And that's where that chip came from, almost to say, fuck you, I can do it. Watch me. Do you know what I mean? I'm going to do everything you can't. Everything you told me I can't do. I'm going to come back and buy the building. Do you know what I mean? And that's essentially what happened. I remember being expelled. Well, not expelled. I got asked to leave after I had to do extended work experience. And just being asked to leave. And I was actually invited back to talk to a class by one of my old teachers, which is a friend of mum's. But that never really come to fruition. It just kind of got spoken about. But it was a bit of a feather in the cap for me.
What relationship do you have with your father?
I don't have one.
Not at all?
No, I don't have one. No.
I think that would be sort of a common story out those sort of ways as well. So I know a lot of people will sort of resonate with is there any underlying issues there, or is that the reason why you want to be such a great dad now?
Bro, I spent a lot of years hating that man, and that resentment just fueled a lot of bad decisions, and landed me in a lot of bad situations and stuff like that. But as soon as I could find the silver lining in what Dad exposed me to, bro, I blossomed as a man and as a father because I just had to do what he didn't do. Do you know what I mean? So I am thankful now as an adult, as a father, and as a man. I can definitely say I'm thankful for what I was exposed to from my dad. Do you know what I mean? And that allows you to let go as well of all of everything that you were exposed to and stuff like that. It allows you to grow instead of being a ball and chain. So, yeah.
The other side of that equation, your mum, I've got to meet her, beautiful lady.
Mum's the best.
How important has she been to you? And I've seen you sort of, she's obviously entrepreneurial as well, but also very early on in GEEDUP, or when I started following GEEDUP, you sort of had little links back to it, like Mama Still Loves Me. And got the handcuffs and tied up and stuff like that. So I know your mum plays a big part in your life. How important is she to you?
Oh, bro, like there's not words to describe that really. I couldn't put it into words. If it wasn't for Mum's love, fuck, man, I could tell you 100% I'd be dead or in jail. If it wasn't for her persistence on keeping me on a straight and narrow road, and her love growing up and her love through my teenage years, and the constant forgiveness, I'd be dead or in jail. You know, by the time I was 21, I'd lost most of my friends to death or jail. If I had stayed on that path, it was 100% where I was going. So her tough love definitely, bro, shaped me and allowed me to be where I am today. So when you try and put that into words and say how important she is to you, you just can't. You know what I mean?
Do the lessons that you learned from watching your friends either die, which is crazy, or end up in jail, make you want to go on the straight and narrow? Or
100%. I remember having a thought to myself. I was actually working at the time as a graphic designer, and I got a call. I won't say his name, but I got a call on the bus on the way home from my. So I used to catch a bus to Penrith Station, from Penrith Station all the way to Roseville in northern Sydney. Get a bus from there down into the suburbs, and I used to work out of a garage as a graphic designer for just a print company. And I remember doing that leg. It was about a 4-hour leg both ways. So I was traveling 8 hours and working 8 hours. And on the bus back to the train station, I got a phone call from a friend of mine, and it was the third one to get locked up. And I just had this fucking thought, man. I was just like, fuck, what is it all worth? Like, you know, and I'd only just got back into the workforce, and I wanted to quit. I wanted to go back to what I was doing. You know, I was having some fun. You know what I mean? But I sat on the bus, and life fucking sucked for me, bro. I was over it. But I just had this thought, and I was just like, you know, like my best mate Parksy's gone. He's just copped 7 years. Now, I can talk about Parksy, but I won't say the other boys' names. But the third one to go down, I was just like, fuck, man, like, what is it all worth? And if I don't learn from these boys' mistakes, what are their mistakes worth? If I can't derive a lesson from it, or pull a lesson from it, or learn a lesson from it, what's it all worth? So, yeah, like when, you know, that the boys started to get locked up, and I think I was only 25 when my mate Mick Davies was shot. And I was just like, oh, man, like, this is just further solidifying to me that I've got to stay on this path because, you know, losing boys to murder, losing boys to jail, I wasn't not going to learn a lesson from that, and I wasn't not going to prevail and put it on for the boys that had lost a lot and had fucked up. Do you know what I mean? Because if it wasn't for their losses, I wouldn't have been able to learn those lessons. Do you know what I mean?
When I first got to Sydney, it was 2013, and I heard of GEEDUP, and I remember walking past the physical stores, and all the boys in Penrith used to rock your stuff as well. So we fast forward to 2022. It's kind of cool to be from Western Sydney right now, which is a lot different, but I feel like you've always represented the West. What's some of the biggest lessons you've learned, not only from childhood, but from growing up from out West to get to the point to where you are now?
Lessons from the West.
Yeah. So what's something that for us who didn't grow up out West, what's the lessons that you've carried from there into your adulthood as well?
The West teaches you what you want it to teach you, bro. So there's not many lessons I don't think, you know, you can't be like, this is what the West teaches you, it's just this. Because there's different, you know, there's so many different little subcultures out in the West, bro. You can be a good kid and grow up well in the West. There's no doubt about it. But there's an allure.
There's an option.
There's an option, you know what I mean? And a lot of kids are drawn to a lot of different things. Bro, what did I learn from the West? You know, I won't take anything back, but the West has the ability to take a lot if you allow it and if you choose to waste your time. But so the West taught me in my older years that I should have been more not time sensitive, but I should have thought about how I was spending my time a lot more than how I was. Do you know what I mean? Because if I had have started when I wanted to start instead of wasting my time doing other things, walking down another path, I may have been a lot further ahead in life. May not have been, but I don't know, man. It's a hard one for me to answer because it's not so much the West that really taught me. It was the lifestyle in the West that taught me, and that was, be careful who you spend your time with and who you spend your time on. Because it can take a lot. It can take a lot from you.
GEEDUP, dominating the streetwear game right now. We're in a similar industry, and I obviously give you props, and we always have our private conversations. Why'd you start it?
Bro, look, the funny thing is, it was never meant to be a brand. Me and my brother, Bo, me and Bowie, Bowie actually had the idea to sell dead stock basketball jerseys and snapbacks. You remember that phase? How that was the go? Like
Hatland.
Yeah. So I was like, yeah, cool, I'll fund it. Let's do it. Like, I love the idea. There's a bit of paper to be made. Let's do it. And none the wiser. I wasn't any wiser to it either. But we were actually purchasing. Bo was actually purchasing, and at my green light, like none of us knew we were purchasing fakes from China. We ended up having a cease and desist hit on us by Mitchell and Ness, I think Adidas or something like that. And once they served it on Bo, they realised that we're just kids. We didn't even have to go to court. We just had to shut it down. But so we had this tiny little community already, and we're like, what are we going to do next? You know what I mean? And actually, I was in my second graphic design job I think it was my second graphic design job. We're like, what are we going to do next? We don't have basketball jerseys to sell. We don't have snapbacks to sell. But we had this little community. And we're like, let's just start designing clothes. And me already being in graphic design and having a love for lettering and logos, like I explained before, I was like, cool, you know what I mean? Like, I'm going to rework the GEEDUP logo that we've already got. The original GEEDUP logo was the script logo that you see on some of our crew necks. From there, I just redeveloped the logo and started designing things. But I also had a love for graphic T-shirts, old photographs and T-shirts. Remember back in the day when they La Coca Nostra came out with that T-shirt with Kate Moss on the back of it. It said Kate Moss loves La Coca Nostra. Yep. I love that oversized print and imagery. So, bro, I just plugged an Eazy-E, an image of Eazy-E off the internet and just dumped the GEEDUP logo on his T-shirt. Designed up a mock on a grey crew neck and just put it up on the Facebook page and said pre-order only, here's the PayPal link, and I went to lunch and only put 10 of them up for $90. Came back from lunch and they were sold. I was like, fuck, I don't even know how to make these things.
Yep.
Like, I know nothing about screen print, digital print, garment production, where do I even find blanks? So it took me the better part of 4 weeks to get them out. Finally got them out to the customers. And within days, they're emailing me, the print's coming off. Right. I was like, oh, fuck. So I had to use that money I made to do it again. And that's where I found $10 tees. So anyway, that's how it started, man. That's just how it started. Once we realised that people wanted the brand and wanted to wear it, not just resell dead stock, we found that niche. And, I had a love for Aussie hip-hop. I had a love for hip-hop back then. Very different types of hip-hop. But that was the subculture for us back then. As small as it was, we'd always been behind it. And then we just snowboarded from there, bro. I just dove headfirst into it. I quit my job. And I was like, let's just go. We started up a little office in back of Mum's warehouse. Bo was actually in Queensland at the time. He was doing his part up there. And it just snowballed, bro. It just snowballed. Like, we lost a lot, learned a lot. But yeah, that's how it happened.
Very different time. So was Shopify around then?
Nah.
How'd you do it?
I actually had a website built. Had a website built by a friend of mine, Ryan. It was hard. It was strange for people to try and conceptuate because I had a lot of friends on this side of the fence, and then all of a sudden I had web developers and nerds as well. So like, I was using steroids, covered in tattoos, but I could build a website. You know what I mean? So we built a website, and it was crashing. It was giving us some issues and stuff. And then Shopify came out, and we jumped straight onto Shopify from there, bro.
Yep. And you had a couple physical stores at the time. You would have thought that would have been the progression to take. Obviously, you had 2 different physical stores. What was that experience like? Man,
so what happened? I actually the opportunity come along for a bricks and mortar store. Kind of by accident. A young lad, Nathan, was working for me, and his friend, Jake Farragher, actually owned I think it was, what were those hat stores out west? I don't know. Anyway, he owned some hat stores.
I know Jay. I know the dude.
Yeah. Anyway, things weren't going too well for them, and he wanted to exit the lease but couldn't. So there was 10 months or something left on his hat store in Parramatta on the lease. And he come to me, he's like, look, why don't you just put GEEDUP in there and run a shop? And I didn't feel like the brand was strong enough at that point. So I said, you know what, fuck it. This type of opportunity doesn't come around all too often, especially the fact that I don't have to come up with the bank guarantor straight away. I can pay the bank guarantor off over 10 months to these guys, and then hopefully Westfield will give me the opportunity to re-sign a lease. So, but what I'm going to do in the interim? So I started a streetwear store called Crooklyn. And the idea I had back then, I think I was 21. I just think I was 21, I'm 22.
Baby.
Was to buy all my favorite brands. And I didn't even have wholesale accounts back then. Remember, I couldn't get it. So I was jumping on Karmaloop, Casbah. Remember those sort of brands? I was jumping on there, buying retail and sometimes trying to find sale items to fill the store just so I could have GEEDUP on the shelf next to Crooks and Castles, 10 deep, brands alike.
Almost like that custom tee store down in Parramatta now.
Yeah.
Is that what you're trying to do?
Well, no, not like that. Well, the reason I was trying to do that is so the consumer's saying, shit, Crooks and Castles next to GEEDUP, their brands must be the same stature, might be, I was just trying to give the brand a rep. So I did that for 10 months, and I was able to start to pick up accounts. I picked up a contact over in NZ, and they had the license to Crooks and Castles, so I was getting better stock, and I was getting it cheaper, and things were good. Got to the end of the 10 months, and I was like, if I don't do it now, and I sign another 5-year lease, I can't run Crooklyn for 5 years. Like, I want it to be a GEEDUP flagship store. So I just bit the bullet, bro. Emptied my pockets, spent like 6 figures on the fit out. And remember I was 22, you know what I mean? So that's big paper to spend, especially when you're not leaving any fat in the company to purchase stock, you know what I mean? So, and then I started wheeling and dealing, with suppliers. I'm like, look, I need it on a 90-day account, right? And they're like, nah, it's not going to happen. And I found one who was willing to ship me the stock. So that's what happened, bro. I just started making hoodies, making crew necks, making T-shirts and filling the store up, and went from there, but I think we survived about 5 years. And closer to the end of those 5 years, we opened up the Surrey Hills store, which doubled as an office for us. We knew we needed to be in the city just for just for our contacts and stuff like that. Like, running a brand out west is very hard. You just, this is the hub. It's always been the hub. Alexandria, Surrey Hills, that type of area. Plus, I lived out here. Do you know what I mean? So I didn't want to be traveling back out west. The west took a lot from me, so I didn't want to be out there.
So people will see GEEDUP as a massive success now. Wasn't always smooth sailing. I know you guys have been in the field for 10 years, maybe 11 now.
Yeah.
But you went through a bit of a dark time personally. Do you want to touch on that?
Yeah, bro, I can touch on that. So what happened, bro? Like I said, in those infant years, those first 7 or so, 8 years, a lot of lessons, a lot of losses, a lot of lessons. Not just in business, but my personal life as well. I was still fucking up. Do you know what I mean? That's as far as I go on that. I was just fucking up. And it was affecting the business, affecting me, affecting business decisions. There was a lot of, and I can say this fairly, there was a lot of ego in the office with Mark, Bo, and myself. Bo wanted to go in one direction, Mark wanted to go in another direction. So it was a tug of war of brand identity. And I feel like that was probably our biggest fault, is that we didn't share the one vision. It was kind of, this way and that way, because you can make business mistakes and you can recover from them. But by the end of 2017, Mark was fed up. He was out. And Bo was coming and going, touch and go here and there. But there was a lot of arguments. Most of them started by myself. I was very hot-headed and shit like that. But everyone just decided to do their own thing and split. So I had the last of 2017 by myself in the store. And bro, I was using drugs, partying too much, still involved in things, and I was just getting myself in trouble and stuff like that. And I met my ex-partner, and she fell pregnant, bro. She fell pregnant pretty quickly. So I was like, shit, I'm expecting a child. Like, I've got a business that's making money, but I don't know how to manage it. I don't have a steady income. I'm in trouble. So I got like halfway through 2017. I was like, fuck it, I'm done. Close the stores, close the website, and I didn't even say goodbye to the consumer. I just went ghost.
How long were you going for?
Oh, the better part of, like, I'm going to say 18 months, but after about 12 months, I kind of did dabble back on the Instagram and stuff like that. And if you scroll back far enough, there's actually an open letter that me and Bo wrote to the customers, just explaining the absence and stuff like that, explaining, the importance of mental health and stuff like that, because I was depressed. I was in the mud, man. I was in the mud badly. Scared of being a father, scared of being a failing father, really. And then, accepting the fact that the business had failed. The brand was strong, but the business had failed. So we wrote an open letter to the customer, and bro, the way it was received, I was like, fuck, like people really do love this brand, like they love it. Yeah, so it was around then. It was when I had to, and Mum and Bo both said go back to the brand, and it was something that I always wanted to do, and it was a great time to do so. But it was also drew a lot of influence and inspiration from my girlfriend now, my partner Yvette. We actually took a snow trip around the same time, and it was on that snow trip, the drive down to Canberra, where she was talking about her brand, because
she's successful as well.
Yeah, she's got a good little, not even a little clothing label. She's got a great kids label, and it was all around that time where I was, am I going to go back? Am I not going to go back? And that drive down to the snow, it's quite a lengthy one. And Yvette and Yvette's girlfriends were giving her a rap about where she's taken her brand and stuff like that. And just listening to Yvette talk about her label and the passion she had and that fire in her belly, bro, it was that drive where I was like, I remember when I used to have that. You know what I mean, I used to have that passion and that drive and that burn in my belly to take it further and further. And bro, it was that trip down to the snow where I was like, you know what, like I've got to get back. When I get back, I've really got to do something about this. You know what I mean? So I've already had the conversation with Mum and Bo. Everyone around me is kind of saying go back to the brand, and then it was that trip that kind of tipped me over the edge to be like, yeah, So yes, I needed to do it financially, but it was that trip that put the passion back in it for me, and it put that fire back in my belly. And yeah, man, we got back from the snow, and I don't think it was probably only weeks after that I was like, all right, let's go hell for leather here. So yeah, that was a big influence, man. I drew a lot of inspiration from that as well.
All right, guys, quick break. This podcast is brought to you by Kelly Partners Northern Beaches. The thing I love about accounting, and you have to understand accounting, rolling into business or scaling a business, or even if you're starting a business as well, very important. He's looked after myself, YKTR Sports, and also GEEDUP over the past 5 years, and I could not recommend him enough. The thing I love about Danny, he's diverse. He's not just about P&Ls and numbers. He is about those things as well, but he understands the context of e-commerce or every other business because he deals with businesses day to day. And most of us businesses have the same problem. So if you need an accountant, if you want the best accountant in the game right now, head up Kelly Partners Northern Beaches. I'll put a link down below. Back to the show.
So I went back to the brand, and I think I had like 13 grand left or something, like 14 grand. Went straight to AS Colour, bought a heap of blank tees, and just got busy with my design.
Love that.
Yeah, and that was...
I remember our first conversation when you kind of come back into that, and you sort of talked about like we'd been in the brand for a little while. And I remember the first thing I said is like, there was 11-year-old, 12-year-old kids that saw their brother rocking GEEDUP.
Yeah.
Now they're old enough to actually get the money now. And I just remember that. And the growth from this has been crazy. So let's talk about the rebuild and the fucking taking off to the moon.
The takeoff. So, bro, what happened was, that release went well. It wasn't a big release in the sense of MOQs, but, 14,000, the cost of a T-shirt. So you can imagine it was, I think it was, a bit of revenue there. Most of them sold out. I was like, all right, double down. So that's when the big the big gap happened. I didn't want to go back to blanks. I'm like, all right, I've got a good little kitty here. I'm going straight back to what I know I'm good at, which is outerwear, custom cut and sew, all those different type of appliques. And I went straight back to Simon. You know about Simon, and just went hell for leather, bro. And that was the first collection when the infamous team logo sprouted, bro. And that is probably leading the fucking hoodie industry right now in regards to how quickly that sells and stuff like that. So yeah, that T-shirt collection sold out. I think it was about 4 months in production and sampling. I stayed very active, just showing the processes, sampling processes and stuff like that, kept the customer engaged.
That's an important part, isn't it?
Very, bro. People appreciate that. And it's just interesting. If you don't know anything about garment making or the construction of garment, it's fucking interesting to see it all lined up, and the machines doing their thing and the process of it all. And when this team logo thing, people didn't see embroidery. Embroidery was across the chest.
Yeah.
And again, taking me back to the graffiti days and how I like to place logos and place lettering, I remember just thinking, how am I going to do something different here? And I just laid the garment down. I just looked at it and I'm like, how can I place any one of my strong logos on this that you haven't seen before? And this is what it was. How it happened is I had the flat lay on my computer screen. I imported the logo from Illustrator, and it happened to just import at the perfect size from sleeve to sleeve. And I just stopped. I looked at it. I was like, fuck, that works. That's it. So then I started playing with colorways. So that design was kind of like I set out to design something differently, but how it happened, it just fell into place, just like that. And then, yeah, that was, I think, by being original and being something different, bold and strong, logo heavy,
Yep.
that you weren't seeing back then, bro, that just set us up, man. That just really set us up.
So you've sort of gone from, and I remember you in the little warehouse in Marrickville, got a new office. You guys are in the same building as us.
You can take this off, bro.
Hot.
Yeah.
Talk to us about the experience of like scaling, and this is a really hard part for business, and we're in the part now where we're trying to scale. Is that a nervous time for you? But like, you've had a brand for so long, now everyone sort of recognizes who you are, and you just want to go bang and take off. Talk about us that scaling phase, bro.
Bro, that scaling phase, look, it takes a lot of patience and self-control, because when things start to sell out, it's very easy to be like, make more, restock, make more money. You're leaving too much money on the table. And that will scale you quickly, but you're also going to fall over just as quick, because too readily available, too accessible. Everyone's got it, no one wants it. So 2019 through 2020 and 2021, I really had to keep my handbrake on, in the sense where even Denny, we both shared the same accountant. He was like, make more stock, restock, make more money. And what allowed us to scale was keeping back that accessibility to the stock. So it wasn't just, we didn't just have a blindfold on and be like, oh, let's try and scale and see where it goes.
Yeah.
We kept the supply short and the demand high. And that's what helped us scale at a rate that we wanted to scale at, and it was sustainable. Do you know what I mean? So I remember, bro, I was releasing 100 pieces per hoodie, and it would sell out, and people were like, restock it. And sometimes it'd be 2 months between another drop. We weren't dropping 21 days back then. It was 2 months. And I know I was leaving a lot of money on the table, and I was seriously slitting my own throat.
But you're building a brand.
But I was building a brand. You know what I mean? I was building a brand, and that sold out badge was worth way more to me than what any type of profit was on a restock. Do you know what I mean? That accessibility and that demand was worth so much more, and I built that very precisely by design over 3 years. Now I'm at the point where I'm like, all right, we want to do X amount. Let's make X amount, and we'll turn over X amount.
My favorite part about GEEDUP, your marketing campaigns.
Yeah.
Talk us about those, the thought process behind them, nailing locations. Obviously, you guys rock up to Queenstown, got helicopters with GEEDUP and shit. That's fucking levels. But why was that so important for the brand? And like a lot of people who know that I know you, the boys actually living like that. I'm like, that's it. That's it. Like they drive G-Wagons, they drive all that.
Yeah.
Got a Rolls Royce coming up there.
The Rolls Royce in September, bro. I can't wait. $1 million car.
But talk about this marketing, because marketing's important, isn't it?
Yeah, marketing's really important, bro. And, it's one thing to try to conversate. The conversation online verbally, it's hard to translate a lifestyle with words, do you know what I mean? Translating lifestyle visually is so much easier. But also, when the music artists that were involved with started getting more and more creative with their music videos, I was like, I know kids sit and watch music videos for fucking hours. Do you know what I mean? They're just zoned in.
It was just the moment, was it?
They're tapped in, and I was like, that's how I get their attention. A lookbook video, bro, photos in the office is not going to sustain attention. Do you know what I mean? It's going to be 2 second watch on a lookbook video on a black background, and they're out. But I also love the creative side visually of that. Like, to me, it's art. You know what I mean? It's just
in
another
visual form,
in visual form. It's another part of who I am as a designer, as a creative director, and things like that. And I wanted to do it. I know they couldn't be 3 or 4 minutes long, because you just don't. Without music, you're not going to keep their attention. And then I was, I had that idea. I wanted to do it, and I just started to do a bit of market research, and I came across Greg Una, a jeweler out of New York, and he did it perfectly. I was like, that's it. 45 seconds, a minute, that's it. And it doesn't have to be extravagant fireworks, backflips or fucking horses and, all these wild shit. I mean, we're starting to introduce that now because we're going to keep pushing the bar. But, bro, my first campaign was one of the boys' Lambos in an old chop shop with the sportsman crew neck on, and I seriously just walked through the chop shop. I had a bloke on the left, angle grinding sparks, do you know what I mean?
That.
And all I did was walk straight to the Lambo and start it. That was the campaign, and that was one of our best performing click-through rates on our paid advertising. From there, I was like, okay, let's introduce a bit of a storyline. Let's do this, let's do that. And it just developed. Those campaigns don't do much for new lead gen, but does a lot for our existing customer. They tap in on that, you know what I mean? And on that campaign, we upload 6 or 7 of the key pieces as a slider, the release date, and then we also give away the gift cards. And what that does for our immediate audience that's already tapped in, bro, like the hype around that, and then just sharing that, like it's just visually captivating. So they want to share it, not just share it because of the release date and share it for the collection, but visually they're like, holy fuck, look what the boys have gone and done. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's just grown from there, bro. And you know, like we love it. Like I love that part of it just as much as I love designing. Sometimes I enjoy that more than I enjoy the designing sometimes. You know what I mean?
You've been designing clothes for 10, 12 years, you know
exactly,
what I mean? The storyline's different. All right. What's it like making a couple $1 million in a day?
Oh, bro, like, man, it was, it's surreal. And I'm a bit cursed in the sense I'm happy, hungry. So I should probably enjoy that a little bit more and a little bit longer. But I wake up the next day, I'm like, what's next? But, you know, with that said, bro, I kind of sit, and I was sitting with my partner, Yvette, just a couple of weeks ago, and we were just talking about it. And it just kind of hit me that, like, yeah, man, people don't see this type of revenue ever in a business.
I'll give you some facts, bro. It takes the average business 7 years to turn over $1 million in a year.
Yeah.
And most of those businesses don't even make it. Most of them are out by 2 years.
Yeah.
So those revenue numbers are fucking crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. They are. And I'm not trying to be, you know, overly humble, but I'm being serious with it. Like, it's great. Honestly, Joey could probably vouch for this. It's great. We celebrate it, and then we're like, all right, what's next? How much further do we go now? But it, you know, like what I was just saying before, I had a moment just recently, and I was like, you know what, my birthday's coming up, and it was my birthday last year where we were pushing for our first $1 million month, and that happened with a collection and the first release of the team logo puffer jacket. And that was a celebration. Like, my partner was there, the boys were there, and like, it was my birthday. I was up at my farm, and it was huge, bro. Like, we're like, fuck, we're on another level now. $1 million in a month. Now it's 2.4 in an hour. Do you know what I mean?
It's crazy, bro.
And we're only just scratching the surface, bro. We're in such our infancy stages. Like I just explained to our audit with Paul Waddy, mate. It's going to be global dominance in the next 36 months.
You talk about global dominance. Where's next for you guys? I know you've parked up in LA for a couple months. A couple months ago, you were there for a couple weeks.
Yeah.
Bro,
US is next, man. Definitely the West Coast, LA. I think it's going to be received well, really received well there. We speak the same language. I mean, beautiful cars, nice watches, clothing. Plus, I got a good contact over there. My boy AJ, he was the marketing manager for Crooks and Castles. We're actually teamed up now, so he's going to be the front man down there in LA. We'll be signing a lease soon and stuff like that. So we're going to have a showroom, pretty much the same showroom we've got over here, exactly the same thing. AJ will be producing content for us. He'll have that, that LA conversation online. So yeah, US is next, bro, and that's where I'm sure Paul Waddy he's gonna help, as a consultant, guide that, and we'll do that well. I don't want to just trickle in. I'm gonna come in with a bang, spend the right type of money, have the right type of plan in place, and that's what's gonna see us.
What's the end goal for GEEDUP?
Bro, the end goal, look, I'll be honest with you, for 9-12 months ago, I had an exit plan. I'll tell you, I had an exit plan, but only because I didn't back myself. Look, sorry, I'll take that back. I did back myself, but I also knew I didn't have the skill set or the contacts to take it worldwide back then. So I was able to say, okay, I know how far I can take it. I will let go of the reins at this point so it can keep going. And not entirely, but 80% acquisition, 60% acquisition, what it may have been. Now that I'm here, and I'm making new contacts, and we're reaching new heights. New conversations, bro. I'm That's like, fuck, I'm never letting it go of this thing, bro. Do you know what I mean? I'll be 60 still rocking TNs and hoodies, do you know what I mean? That'll just be me, bro, do you know what I mean? But, bro, I was just talking to the guys before yesterday, and I think we'll probably become that brand that acquires other brands, starting new brands, not brands alike, but, it'll be a house of brands like Louis Vuitton, Moet, Hennessy, do you know what I mean? I want to be that. We've already had the idea of potentially setting up our own 3PL in the next 3 to 5 years, bringing on other brands. That brings our freight dispatch down. These are all ideas. Another new revenue stream. Spreading the risk across instead of just being, this is the main bread earner and all the fats in this. Spreading it out. Do you know what I mean? There is a life cycle for brands. I know we can grow and adapt. So our life cycle will be 20, 30 years. But there's going to be ups and there's going to be downs. So that's where I see the brand, bro. That's where I've seen myself. 60 with just a house of brands and just being anything and everything.
Everything at your feet right now, making money, successful brand, cars, partner, kid. What gets you motivated every single day?
Bro, motivation is a funny thing. Motivation is like an emotion. It comes and it goes, do you know what I mean? So to try and tell yourself how to stay motivated day in, day out, you're going to be lying to yourself because you just can't. So I stay consistent. amongst everything. Through everything, just stay consistent, and then the motivation will come, you know what I mean? Because by staying consistent, you will reach certain parts, certain goals, certain things you can tick off your list. Then you draw motivation from that. Inspiration, you know, I draw inspiration from certain things that helps with my motivation. But staying consistent for my family, for my kids, for my partner is much easier to try and draw motivation from them. You know what I mean? So I stay consistent for them, stay consistent because I know consistency will get me to my certain points. And from that, I draw the motivation.
Young kid, look, from out west, tagging on people's property, no relationship with his father, wants to start something. What's your advice to someone like that?
Look, man, fuck, Jay-Z just said it best. Far from a Harvard student, just had the balls to do it. And bro, that just resonates so loudly to me. There's no right time. There's no wrong time. There's no rhyme or reason to start something. If you want to start, you just have to start. And, you know, you can come in as educated as you possibly can be on an idea, but I guarantee you are going to trip and fall, make mistakes, and as long as you're willing to make those mistakes, grow from them and learn from them, just start, man. I can't give you any better advice than that, to just start and do it fearlessly. If you come into this with fear or a plan B, your plan A is not going to work. Guess what happens? Plan B, you look for plan C. So just do it fearlessly, bro. Just start, man.
All right, Paco, thank you for all your time, my brother.
Legend.
I'll get you back on the podcast for
Yeah,
sure.
for sure.
Can't wait to see GEEDUP take over.
Beautiful. Cheers.
Hey, thanks, my guy.